Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome. Today's Daf is YOMA Ayin. We begin the second line from the top of the Amud. The Mishnah described the Kriyas HaTorah which took place on Yom Kippur, where the Kohen Gadol would read from Parshas Achrei Mos, which describes the Korbanos of Yom Kippur. Then he would proceed to Parshas Emor, the parsha called Ach Be'asar, which describes the halachos of Yom Kippur, the Chamisha Inuyin, refraining from food and drink, etc. And then the Mishnah says, V'goylel Sefer Torah. He would roll up, close up the Sefer Torah, and declare. He would say, look, all the rest I'm going to read by heart, but that's not to say that the Sefer Torah is missing a parsha. Actually, Yoser, Imasha Karasi Lefneichem, there is more of this same topic. There is more contained in the Sefer Torah of the discussion of Yom Kippur. Yoser Imasha Karasi Lefneichem Kosuv Kan. However, he would continue reading Ba'al Peh, the parsha of Musafen contained in Parshas Pinchas. Says the Gemara, V'kol kach lama, what's the point of making this declaration? You should know there is more contained in the Sefer Torah, more than I just read for you. V'kol kach lama, what's the point? Kadesh lahiti laz, I'll Sefer Torah, so as not to create a wrong impression that perhaps the reason why he's stopping to read from the Sefer is because the Sefer Torah is puzzle and missing some material. So he doesn't want to create that negative impression that lies on the Sefer Torah. So he ensures that it's clear to all. Sefer Torah is missing nothing. Rather, it's just by choice that I choose to close up the Sefer Torah and read the rest by heart. And in fact, the Mishnah continues about Asar, Shel Chomesh HaPkudim, Kori Al Peh. The rest he'll read by heart. Amai, why? Why by heart? Nigloil v'nikri. Let him shift the Sefer Torah over to that location, roll it to Parshas Pinchas, and read from inside. Amar Rav Huna Breid Rav Yeshua. Amar Rav Sheshes. You know why? L'fishe'ein goylin Sefer Torah b'tzibur. We're not meant to roll the Sefer Torah when it's a public setting, which would require the tzibur to stand idle, just watching the fellow turning the Sefer Torah, make way tzibur. It's a lack of respect for the tzibur to have them idling around, waiting till they found the right place in the Sefer Torah. So he chooses to stop, closes the Sefer Torah, and reads the rest by heart. Fine, you can't roll this Sefer Torah and have everybody wait. Just bring another Sefer Torah out. Another one which was prepared in advance, which will open to the right spot in Parshas Pinchas, v'nikri, and read from there. Rav Huna bar Yehuda Amar, Mishum Pugam Shel Rishon. Once again, we don't want to create a pugam, some negative impression that perhaps there's something wrong. They found something missing in the first Sefer Torah. It turned out to be puzzle, in which case they have to proceed to another Sefer Torah. You don't want to create that impression. So better do it this way. Close up the Sefer Torah, make that announcement, and read the rest by heart. For Reish Lakish Amar, you know why they won't introduce another Sefer Torah? Reish Lakish Amar Mishum Bracha She'ena Tzricha, because that would necessitate saying a new bracha. You bring a new Sefer Torah, you have to be machabed the new Sefer Torah. Make a new bracha, says Tosfos Rabbeinu Peretz. If that's the case, you're bringing about a situation, introducing a new bracha, which is really an unneeded bracha. The Tosfos Yeshanim brings, Mikan yesh lulmaid, we can infer from here, suppose a sheichet is doing shchita on many behemoths, he's not meant to speak out in between the behemoths, which would obligate him to make a new bracha. Because if you have the opportunity to be yotzei with just one bracha on all, you're meant to do that. Just like here. He already made a bracha on the first sefer. Don't bring another Sefer Torah into the scene, which would require another bracha. So it's either one of these two pshatim. We don't want to create a pagam impression that there's something wrong with the first sefer, and that's why they brought a second, or you don't want to bring about a situation which would require reciting another bracha. Says the Gemara, is Pagam a concern? And as a result of that, we don't bring a new Sefer Torah? We find many times throughout the year that we'll bring out 2 Sefer Torah, or even 3. V'amar v'yitzak nafcha, Rosh Chodesh Tevis, Shachalias b'Shabbos. Rosh Chodesh Tevis, which happens to be Chanukah, falls out also on Shabbos. How many Sefer Torah do we read from? 3. Mevin Shalosh Torahs v'Kohen. Achas. In one of those Svarim, we read B'Inyanei Shel Yom, the Parshas HaShavua for Shabbos. V'achas. We use the other one for the Kriya of Shel Rosh Chodesh. V'achas. And in the third one we read Shel Chanukah, the Parsha of Chanukah. Apparently, there's no concern with using 3 separate Sefer Torah. Says the Gemara, there's a difference. Tlasa Gavri, but Tlasa Sifri. Like a Pgama. When each Sefer Torah is serving another person, it's 3 Sefer Torah, but 3 people are reading, 1 from each. There's no Pgam. Each one preferred his Sefer Torah. It's his grandfather's Torah. He has some sort of liking to this Sefer Torah. So not necessarily is going to generate a negative impression for about the other ones. However, in our case, where it's one person, Chad Gavra, one Kohen Gadol with Trei Sifra, going from one Sefer Torah to the next, Ika Pagama is a concern of creating an impression that there's something wrong with the first one. That's why we had to transfer over to the second one. We don't want to do that. That's why we close up the Sefer and read the rest by heart after making that declaration. You should all know that there's nothing wrong with the Sefer, but I simply don't want to keep you waiting. The bracha concludes with 8 brachas. Tanraban al HaTorah. That's the typical bracha, standard bracha that we make by an aliyah. Kederach shemevarchim beis hakneses. What is the bracha of al ha'avoda? That's the bracha of ritzei, like we say in Shemona Esrei. Val ha'ida, that's moed menachem loch. Val mechilas ha'oven, ketiknan. Mechilas ha'oven is the bracha, the tefillah bracha that we say on Yom Kippur, mechoyla v'nisenu. So all these avoda ha'ida, mechilas ha'oven, ketiknan have the same text as we have today in Shemona Esrei. In addition, we have V'al HaMikdash B'fnei Atzmit, a separate tefillah and bracha for the success of the Beis HaMikdash. V'al HaKayhanim B'fnei Atzman, a separate one for Kayhanim. V'al Yisrael B'fnei Atzman, another one for Kal Yisrael's success. V'al Shara Tefillah, and the rest. What is that? Tana Rabbanan. U'Shara Tefillah, that's Rina, a song, Tchina, begging, a supplication, Bakasha, request. So it's a combination of all different styles of davening. Rina, Tchina, Bakasha, Milfanecha. From you, Hashem, Al Amchi Yisrael Shetzrichen V'Sheya. A tefillah for Klal Yisrael. They need salvation. Now we're speaking when the Beis HaMikdash was around. What type of Yeshua do they need? The Farshim say everybody needs their own private Yeshua. This one needs a shidduch. This one needs to make $1 million. Everybody needs their own Yeshua, and that's what he's davening for. That was the conclusion. So once he's done Kriyas HaTorah and the brachos, v'achakach, says the Gemara, kol echad ve'echad, maybe Sefer Torah mebeisei, v'kirubay. Everybody would come along with their own private Sefer Torah, which they brought from home. Rashi says they brought it before Yom Kippur, and they read in their Sefer Torah kedei laharos chazusei l'ravim, to make a public demonstration, to show off the beautiful Sefer Torah. Let's go over to Rashi here. 13 lines from the top. Laharois chazusei l'ravim, says Rashi, laharois noyoi shel Sefer Torah v'tiferes ba'aleh, to show the beauty of the Sefer and how much the owner invested in a mitzvah. Shetorach lisnois b'mitzvah. Shenemar zeh kelev anveyu. We learn from there. Mitzvahs are meant to be beautiful. Yisnoah l'fan of mitzvahs. Demonstrate your commitment. It's not elefan of your commitment, your dedication, by making beautiful mitzvahs. Lulav noah, Sefer Torah noah, B'klaf noah, B'dyoy noah, B'lavler uman, written by an expert scribe, Umer of Yontava, Akipurim Evim Sham. Of course, they brought it before Yom Kippur. Actually, Rashi in Sotah says another pshat. Perhaps there was an Erev in Yerushalayim which allowed them to carry. So what better time to show our commitment to Hashem and mitzvahs than Yom Kippur? So this was a beautiful demonstration of Zeh Kelim Ranveu, how much Yisrael committed to mitzvahs, fulfilling mitzvahs on the highest, the most beautiful level. We go beyond the call of duty, and hopefully we'll be Zaycha to Kapara, Lefnim Shur Sadin, as well on this Yom Kippur. Continues the Gemara. Haroya Kohen Gadol v'chulu lo Mishnah Rashai. Mishnah says, if one decided to watch the Kohen Gadol's Kriyas HaTorah, he couldn't be at the other event where they burnt the Parvis So'ir, and it's not because he wasn't allowed to leave one for the sake of the other. It was simply a matter of circumstance. It was a great distance between one and the other. You couldn't make it over in time. Pshita, of course, why would I think it's usher to leave one event and go over to the other? What's the Havamina? Why would I think it's a problem? That the Mishnah needs to spell it out and say, no, there's no halachic problem, it's just practical. Says the Gemara, Ma'ud Tema, perhaps I would think there is a problem with the Rish Lakish. The Amar Rish Lakish, Ein Avir Ala Mitzvahs. One is not meant to pass over a mitzvah opportunity. And perhaps it applies here as well. My mitzvah, which mitzvah was he engaged in, which he was simply watching the Kohen Gadol's Kriyas HaTorah? B'roiv Hadras Melech. With the multitudes, the more spectators there are during the mitzvah, Hadras Melech, that adds honor to the Melech, to Hashem. Perhaps once you're engaged in being an observer of a mitzvah, whether it's the Kriyas HaTorah or the Parvis Sar Nisrafen, you're not meant to leave the scene. Kamash Milan, the Chiddush says, there's no concern, as Rashi explains. It's not called Ma'avir al Mitzvahs. Me'achar, says Rashi, she'enei osuk. At the end of the day, he's not really involved in the mitzvah. He's just a spectator. So it wouldn't be a halachic concern. If he chose to leave one event and hop over to the other one, but he couldn't do so merely for practical reasons because of the distance between the two events. Continues the Mishnah. Now, before we begin, we meant to know that on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol would bring no less than 15 korbanos throughout the day. So let's just briefly go down the list. We have the standard, Tamid Shal Shachar, Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim. Then we have korbanos which were exclusively Yom Kippur Dika korbanos. For the Kapar of Yom Kippur, for the Kedusha of Yom Kippur, we already discussed the Par Kohen Gadol, the Sar Lashem, Sar Chatas, also called Sar Apnimi. We're going to have Eloi ve'el ha'am, his ram, the ram which belongs to the Am, which were Karbanis Oila. So these were connected to the fact that it's Yom Kippur. Then we have Karbanis categorized as Musafin, which is something that applies throughout the year. Shabbos, Yom Tov, with Yom Kippur being no different. Now the Musafin and Yom Kippur consisted of a whole list of Karbanis. We have a Par Ha'ila, we have something called So'ir HaChitzain, another Chatas, but this one was brought outside in the Mizbeach HaChitzain. Then we have another batch of Karbanis, Shiva Kvasim, 7 sheep. So these were the Karbanis Musaf, Par Ha'ila, So'ir Nasa B'chutz, and the Shiva Kvasim were the Karbanis Musaf, for a total of 15. Of course, let's not forget our Sar Azazel on top of this. So these Karbanis brought throughout the day and distributed throughout the various segments of Avodah. We know that the Kohen Gadol would switch in and out of Begadim 5 times. He started with Big Day Zav, full gear, 8 Begadim, switched over to Big Day Lavan, which were only 4 Begadim, white, linen Begadim, switched back to Zav, switched back to Lavan, and finally switched back to Zav to last the final segment of the Avodah. So the 15 Karbanis mentioned here were distributed and dispersed throughout the day's work. How exactly were they implemented? That's going to be the topic of the following Mishnah, and the ensuing Sugya is going to be a machlokes between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Kiva, how to configure the day schedule in the Beis HaMikdash as per these Karbanis. Continues the Mishnah, in bevigdei vutz koirei, We discussed Kohen Gadol doing Kriyas HaTorah. If he chose to continue wearing his big day boots, the white linen begadim, if that's what he used to wear to do the Kriyas HaTorah, in the big day boots kari, Kidesh Yadav V'Raglav. So now it's time for the next segment of Avodah, where he has to wear the full garb, the 8 begadim, which we call the big day zav. So he has to do a tvila, he has to do twice Kiddush Yadayim V'Raglayim to enable that switch over. Kiddush Yadav V'Raglav, he was mekadosh his hands and feet from the kiyur. Pashat, he removed his bigdei lovan. Yorad v'taval olav, and his tapak went down. He was table, came up, he dried himself. V'vilo bigdei zav, and he presented him with the next batch of begadim, bigdei zav. V'lavash, he donned this new set of begadim. V'kidesh Yadav V'Raglav, and once again he rinsed his hands and feet. V'yatza, and he went out to go do the karbanos, which were done outside, the Azorah, Mizbech HaChitzon, V'yatza v'asa es Eloi, v'es Ela'am, his carbon oila, the carbon oila of the Tzibur, v'es Shivas HaKvasem Tmimim v'Shana, and those 7 sheep, the unblemished sheep, Neishana, it's a year old, so these were actually the Musafim. So he did all these karbanos at this point of the day, when he switched back into the big day zav. Rabbi Kiva, no. The Shiva Kvasim, they were done in the morning. Im Tamid Shel Shachar Yikrev. They were done together with Tamid Shel Shachar the first time that he wore big day zav, early in the morning. Upara Oila, which was another element of the Musafin. Uvisar Nasa B'chutz. This as well was part of the Musafin. These were brought later on. Hayukraven im Tamid ben Abayim in the afternoon. Only at the end of the day was the Tamid ben Abayim, when he wore the big day zav the next time around. The third time wearing big day zav, he brought the Tamid ben Abayim and the Para'oila and Sar Nasa B'chutz together with it. Now, not to get confused, Bez Hashem, in the Gemara, we're going to have a clear presentation of Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Kiva. Not to worry. Continues the Mishnah, Kiddush Yadav V'Raglav. Once again, he does Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. Upashat removes the big day zav. V'yora, v'taval, v'olav, and his topic went down. He was titled, came up, he dried himself. Hevilo big day lovin. Once again, they present him with big day lovin. This is going to be the second time wearing big day lovin. V'lavash, he put on the begadim. V'kiddush Yadav V'Raglav. He washed his hands and feet from the kiyur. Nichnas lahoitzias akav hamacht. He went back into the Kodesh HaKadoshim to retrieve the empty spoon and the shovel used for the Ketores, which he had left behind. So he had to put on big day lovin. You can only go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim wearing big day lovin. He went back in, he took them out, and then Kiddush Yadav V'Raglav. He did again Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. Upashat, he removed the big day lovin. V'yorad v'taval, all of it is stapel. He did Tefillah again, and now they presented him with the big day zav for the last and final time. Havig big day zav v'lavash, he put them on. Kiddush Yadav V'Raglav, and he did Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. And now he's up to the final leg of the day's avodah v'nichnas. He went into the Heichel HaHaktik Ketores ben Abayim to bring the Ketores, Uleitav Saneres to fix, to light the menorah, and of course to do the Tamid ben Abayim, as we mentioned. The Kiddush Yadav V'Raglav, once again Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. Upashat removed those big days off, and he was done. Heviloi big day atzmai. They brought him his own private clothing. V'lavash pataman, and he was done the avodah. Now it's time to celebrate. Umulav and oisei abesei. They would escort him all the way till his home and show their gratitude, appreciation for a job well done. V'yayim tov ha'ya'isa. He would make a yom tov la'oyava for his friends, b'shah sheyatza b'shalom min ha'kodesh, in celebration of having done a successful avodah Yom Kippur, in and out of the kodesh hakadoshim successfully. It was time to celebrate. Iboilu, says the Gemara, the Bnei Yeshiva wanted to know pshat in the Mishnah. What does Rabbi Kiva mean when he says some things were brought in the morning, well, what's going on? Hechikama. Im tamid shel shachar are you craven? Does he mean that the shiva kvasim were brought in the morning with the tamid shel shachar? Kama. Stop here. Upara oila v'sar nasa b'chutz were brought later on im tamid sheben arbayim. So only the shiva kvasim came in the morning, but the para oila and the soir, the other elements of the musafin, came with the afternoon tamid. Is that what Rabbi Kiva meant? That's one way to learn. Idilmo, perhaps he meant differently. Hachigama. Shiva kvasim were brought in the morning. Im tamid shel shachar yikraven. But not only the shiva kvasim, upar ha'oila ba'hadayu. The para oila as well went along with them in the morning. Kama, stop here. V'soyer hanasa b'chutz. That was brought later. Im tamid sheben habayim. So which one is it? Everything in the morning? The shiva kvasim in the morning, and the para oila and soyer in the afternoon, or the shiva kvasim with the para oila in the morning, and the odd one out was the soyer nasa b'chutz. That element of the musafim came in the afternoon. So which way is it? V'su, another question we wanted to know. Para oila l'Reb the shairi. You see, what happens to the para oila which Rabbi Lezer omitted? He makes no mention of the para oila. Amos avidle, when? Because Rabbi Lezer, when would he take care of the para oila? Another question. V'su, Vein Rabbi Lezer, Vein Rabbi Kiva, what happened to the murichatas? Amos avidu, when would he burn the fats of the parvis soir on his rafim? The ones placed in that mugas, in the bucket. When did he burn those? So many things that are unclear. We have to figure things out. Amar Rava, I'll tell you the truth. The Mishnah itself, the way we have it, is a bit confusing. The only way you'll figure it out properly is Ella, Oiler Reb Lezer. If you want to figure out Reb Lezer's Shita, the Tana of B'divei Shmuel. Go listen to the way it was presented. The way Rabbi Lezer's Shita was presented in the Brisa taught in the Beis Medrash of Shmuel. So go there to figure out Rabbi Lezer's Shita. Oiler Rabbi Kiva, or if you want Rabbi Kiva's Shita, Kida Tosefta. You'll find them clearly presented in Tosefta. So what does he mean? The Tana of the Beis Shmuel, because there was a Brisa of Beis Shmuel which presented Rabbi Lezer's Shita as follows. Rabbi Lezer Omer. This is Rabbi Lezer's Shita. Now, before we proceed, let's just address what's clear at this point. It's agreed upon by all. There were 5 segments of the Avodah Yom Kippur. The first one involved Bigdei Zov, when he did the Tamid Shel Shachar. He switched over to Bigdei Lovan to do what we call the Avodas Hayom, things involving the Heichal Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Ketores, all the way in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Parvis Soyer, whose dam was born in the Kodesh HaKadoshim and back in the Heichal. That was called Avodas Hayom. He switched over to Bigdei Zov to take care of other karbonis, which are considered Choyves Hayom as well, although not pertaining to Kodesh HaKadoshim. But these were exclusively Yom Kippur karbanis. Eloi, Eloam, these are 2 karbanis. Oila, his ayil, belonging to the current Gadol, the ayil of the Am, and the Emurei Chatas, as the Gemara soon will explain, the fats of the Parvis Sur. So that was all addressed with his Bigdei Zov. He would switch over to Bigdei Lovan once again, second time wearing white, to enable him access to the Kodesh HaKadoshim for retrieval of the Kafa Machta. Then finally he would switch over to Zav again. This was his 3rd time wearing Zav for the Tamid Sheben Arbayim. So that's Pashut. There were 5 switchovers, and all these karbanis were addressed during one of these 5 segments. The remaining karbanis, for which there is a machlokes between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Kiva, are the karbanis musaf. Karbanis musaf consisted of the para oila, shiva kvasim, and the soir hachitzon. So hachitzon was a chatas, but in contrast to the Sarah Pnimi. This one was Chitzain brought outside and there was Becha Chitzain. The shaila is, when were these Karbonis Musaf brought? This is going to be the point of a discussion here between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Kiva. That's it, just regarding Karbonis Musaf. So just to keep things simple and clear, there was no machlekes pertaining to the 5 switchovers and all those things that were addressed during those 5 segments. That's the Kuli Alma. It's regarding the Karbonis Musaf which we have a machlekes. So let's proceed. The Torah Dvei Shmuel, Rabbi Lezer Eimer, Yotzav Asa Elav Elam. So he came out after doing the Avodas Hayom with Big Day Lavan. Victorious Parvisur. He came out, meaning he came out to address Karbonis which were done outside. Yotzav Asa Eloi Velam Veimurichatas. He was marked the Chalovim of the Parvisur. That's it. He stopped right there. Karbonis Musaf? It wasn't time for Musaf yet. That was brought later. Later on the day. Aval Paro Oila, Vishavas Kvasam, Visar Nasa Bachutz, Im Tamet Shel Ben Arbaim. That he addressed later on. Together with Tamet Shel Ben Arbaim. When he was wearing the Big Zav, the 3rd time around. The Gemara will explain the reason is because we follow the Seder of the Psukim. Look, we have 2 parashas in the Torah which discuss the Karbonos Yom Kippur. We have in Sefer Vayikra and Parashas Achrei Mos, where the Psukim discuss the Avodas Hayom, the Karbonos, which are specific and exclusive for Yom Kippur. That's meant to come before Musafin, which are discussed way later in Sefer Bamidbar and Parashas Pinchas. So just follow the Seder of the parashas. So early on in the day, you take care of Sefer Vayikra. When he wore Big Zav the 2nd time around, he took care of those Karbonos. Not only later on, when he wore the Big Zav the 3rd time around, would he address the Karbonos contained and listed in the Sefer Bamidbar. That's Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Kiva Tesefta Mai. Where do we find Rabbi Kiva in Tesefta? Where his shita is presented clearly. The son Rabbi Kiva Eimer. He disagrees. He says, even the Musafin went to be brought in the morning, just as they're done on a regular Yom Tov. Musafin are meant to be an addition to the standard Tamid. That's why it's called Musaf, right? It's Moisef, it's an addition. It's meant to be brought in close proximity to the Tamid Shel Shachar. Don't wait till later on the day. Look what the pasuk says. Shneimar milvad oilas habayker ashal oilas hatamid. This is a standard pasuk speaking about Musafim of all Yom Tovim. Milvad oilas habayker. Musafin meant to be in addition, in close proximity, immediately after the standard Oilas HaTamid. Therefore, he maintains that the Para Oila, Zayin Kvasim, come early on in the day, together with Tamat Shel Shachar, when he was wearing Zav, the 1st time around. Then he proceeds to the Avodas Hayom, meaning when he switches to white, he does the Keturis, the Parvisor, and then when he switches back into gold, he'll take care of the Eloi, Elam, Erechatas, just as Rabbi Lezer. There's no shaila about that. But here, says Rabbi Kiva, is where he's going to do the last leg of the Musaf in the Sarah Chitzin. Why? Why does Rabbi Kiva split the Musaf into 2 parts? The Para Olam Zayin Kvasim in the morning, together with the Tamid, and the Sarah Nasa B'chutz, which is another element of the Musafin, that takes place only later. Because we have a pasuk to that effect. Shenemar, Sir Izim Echad Chatas Mulvad Chatas Kipurim. So the Soyer HaChitzin is Mulvad the Soyer HaPnimi, the Soyer of Yom Kippur. What does this tell you about the placement of the Soyer HaChitzin? It's meant to follow the Soyer HaPnimi. You can't bring it in the morning with the other Musafin. So that sets it apart from the rest. You have to wait until Avodas Hayom, which included the part of the Soyer HaPnimi, that's the Chatas HaKippur, and afterwards you can go ahead, when you switch into the Zav again, go ahead and bring your Soyer HaChitzin. So this was all included in the Big Day Zav the 2nd time around. right? The Sarachitzen, Eila ve'Ela'am, Imurichatos. And then, of course, he would switch into Lavan for the Kaf Machta, and then switch back into gold, Va'achach Tamid Sheben Abai. Okay, so the Shaila is squarely relating the Karbanis Musafin. According to Belezer, they're all brought later on in the day. According to Rekiva, mostly in the morning, some midday. So more now we'll give the background, the reasons for these two shittas. My time they're Belezer. Why does Belezer hold that they didn't soften, wait until later? Very pashut. Aved Kedechsev, he follows the sequence of the psukim. Aved Bereisha, the Teres Kahanim. First he's meant to do, Karbanis mentioned Teres Kahanim, that's Sefer Vayikra. Parshas Achrei Mos. That's why in the middle of that day, when he's wearing Zav the second time around, he takes care of Eloi, Ela'am, Imurichatos, all things that shall discuss in Sefer Vayikra. V'hader Aved Chumash HaPekudim, and later on in the day, when he wears the Klei Zav the third time around, with the Tamid Sheben Abayim, then he'll do the Musafin, which are listed in Chumash HaPekudim, that's Sefer Bamidbar, where you count the Yidden. So Musafin, which are in Parshas Pinchas and Sefer Bamidbar, come way later. You want to follow the Seder of the Parashas. Now asks Rashi Akasha, what happened to Rekiva's Pasuk, Mulvad Oilas HaBoiker, which indicates that Musafin are always with the Tamid Shel Shachar. Says Rashi, yeah, that's typically your typical Yom Tov, but here it's different. Because Yom Kippur, keep in mind, Yom Kippur has two separate discussions of Karbanis. One in Sefer Vayikra, which are the Chayvos Hayayim, the Avodas Hayayim, and there's another discussion in Sefer Bamidbar. It's different than a standard Yom Tov. Here, we split the Avodas into two, and therefore we want to follow the Seder HaPsukim. First comes Sefer Vayikra, and then later on, what's contained in Sefer Bamidbar, the Musafin, which will accompany the Tamid Sheben Abayim at the end of the day. They're Rabbi Kiva. What's trying to Rabbi Kiva? Who holds that the Musafin will come early on in the day? Because the tiny time, as Rabbi Kiva himself explained, Pasuk says, Milvad Oilas HaBoiker, Ashel Oilas HaTamid. That Musafin are meant to be in addition to Oilas HaBoiker, to Tamid Shel Shachar. We learn from here, Alma, apparently Musafin im Tamid Shel Shachar Aved Lahu. Just as, generally speaking, on a typical Yom Tov, Musafin is Musaf. It's a supplement, in addition to the morning Tamid. It's meant to be brought together with it. Immediately following that Tamid Shel Shachar as well. Kippur is no different. Musafin accompany the Tamid Shel Shachar. With one exception, of course. The Sarachitzen, because we have another pasuk. That's meant to follow the Sar of Yom Kippur, and therefore that gets set apart from the rest, and that's brought later on in the day. Okay, so let's just summarize once again. Kegel switched in and out of Begadim 5 times, from Zav to Lavan to Zav to Lam to Zav. Now everybody agrees that the first Zav was a time to address Tamid Shel Shachar. The first Lavan was time to address the Avodas Hayayim, Ketores, Parvasur, Apnimim. When he switched into Zav next time, it was for Eloi, Ela'am, and Murichatos. He switched back into Lavan to allow him access to retrieve the Kaf Machta from Kodesh HaKadoshim. And finally, the last Zav was intended for Tamid Sheben Abayim. The Shiloh was regarding Musafin. Rabbi says, follow the Seder of the Psukim. First, he'll take care of the Karbanis in Sefer Vayikra, the Avodas Hayayim, Eloi, Ela'am, and Murichatos. And later on, at the last leg of his journey, he'll take care of the Musafin, the Para'ila, Zayin Kvasim, Sarachitzayin, together with the Tamid Sheben Abayim. Rabbi Kiva says, no. Yom Kippur is no different than a regular Yom Tov, where Musaf is meant to follow immediately after Tamid Shel Shachar. Milvad Oilas HaBoiker. So Para'ila, Shiva Kvasim come in the morning. We have a pasuk which says Soyer Achitzin is different. Milvad Chatas HaKippurim is meant to follow the Soyer HaPnimi of Yom Kippur. Therefore, that has to wait until he dons the Big Day Zav the second time around. Says the Rabbi Lezer, "Hay milvad chatas HaKippurim hayavli." The pasuk which Rabbi Kiva used to teach us that the Soira Chitzin comes later. Malvad Chatzos HaKippurim. What does Rabbi Lezer do with that pasuk? According to him, all the Musafin come later. This pasuk is superfluous. Mayamile. How he needs it for another halacha. Discuss Masechah Shavuos regarding the function of that chatas. Almash zeh mechaper. Both chatois, chatas hapnimi, chatas hachitzin, have a similar capacity. They're mechaper on similar things. If one walked into the Mikdash B'tumah, and he had some sort of awareness, as the Gemara in Shavuos discusses. So the point is to equate them in some manner, that the kapara of both chatois are similar in nature. But it's nothing to do with timing or placement of the karbanos. So however, Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Akiva. Now, the Gemara will add another angle to Rabbi Akiva's shita. Rabbi Akiva maintains that Musafin are meant to be brought early in the day. So according to the version presented up until this point, the Shiva Kvasim, the entire batch of Shiva Kvasim, are brought together with Talmud Shel Shachar. There's going to be a machlekes here. There's going to be other versions of Rabbi Akiva's shita regarding those Shiva Kvasim. That's it. Just regarding the Shiva Kvasim, when are they brought? Rabbi Yehuda quotes Rabbi Akiva to the fact that Echad Karev im Talmud Shel Shachar, V'shisha im Talmud Sheben Abayim. It's not that all 7 are brought in the morning. You split them apart. You see, although Rabbi Akiva has a raya that Musafin come in the morning, but we can't ignore entirely Rabbi Lezer's argument. Rabbi Lezer says, follow the Seder Psukim. First you attend to the Psukim of Parshas Vayikra, and then you attend to the Karbanis in Sefer Bamidbar, which would indicate that Musafin on the bottom of the list. So now we're going to address that as well. Rabbi Yehuda and soon Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shimon will hold that, we want to strike a compromise. Don't take it to the extreme. Don't ignore Rabbi Lezer's argument. Don't just bring everything in the morning. Rather, strike a compromise. Some here and some there. Some in the morning and some later. So now there are 2 shittas regarding how to split the 7. Is it 1 in the morning with the Talmud Shel Shachar and the remaining 6 later on with the Talmud Sheben Abayim? Or is it 6 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon? So that's going to be the machlekes now. Rabbi Yehuda Mishmai read the quotes from Rabbi Akiva as follows: Echad Karev im Talmud Shel Shachar. 1 of the 7 kvasim are brought in the morning. V'shisha im Talmud Sheben Abayim. The remaining 6 later on in the day with the Talmud Sheben Abayim. Rabbi Lezer Shimon Mishmai, he quotes Rabbi Akiva a bit differently. Rather than 1 and 6, it's going to be 6 and 1. Shisha Kraven im Talmud Shel Shachar. 6 kvasim in the morning. Ve'echad im Talmud Sheben Abayim. And the final one later on in the afternoon with the Talmud Sheben Abayim. My Tamei D'Rabbanan. How do we understand that this discussion, these shittas, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, who present Rabbi Akiva in a bit of a different light? He split the Musafin, he split the Kvasim in this manner. What's the pshat? Says the Gemara, because we have an apparent contradiction here. Tzrei Krei Ksivi. We have 2 psukim to create a paradox. On the one hand, Ksiv, Mavadag HaBoker, which indicates that Musafin come in addition to the Talmud Shel Shachar. They're meant to follow the Talmud Shel Shachar and brought in the morning, as we explained earlier. But on the other hand, we have an indication from psukim that the Tmidim, the Musafin rather, are meant to come later on the day. Uksiv v'yotzav asaselosav v'gomer is a little bit of a koishi how to understand the pasuk the Gemara brings. The Rasha says apparently Rashi was not geiris this pasuk, but the point of the matter is that on the other hand, on the other side of the equation, we have a mashmois. We do have an indication from the psukim and the parshas. The fact that Musafin are listed way later in Parshas Pinchas and Sefer Midbar, which seems to indicate that the Karbanos Yom Kippur are classified categorized in two categories, split into 2. One is Chayvas Hayom, which come earlier, Those are the ones mentioned in Sefer Vayikra. Whereas the Musafim come way later. But then we have a pasuk which says, no, bring Musafim in the morning. Mavad Olis HaBoker. So we have this paradoxical situation. How do we resolve this? So we strike a compromise. Hilkach Avid Minayu Hoch. So some he'll bring in the morning, Uminayu Hoch, and some of them in the afternoon. The question simply is, how do you distribute it? Is it 1 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon, or the other way around? But my commitment, what's the pshat in their machlekes? Whether it's 1 and 6, 6 and 1. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, Avid Chad Kedichsiv. You do 1 in the morning, as the pasuk says, Mavad Olis HaBoker. At least some sort of musaf element should accompany the Talmud Shel Shachar. So 1 is enough. And the rest leave for later. V'hadar Avid Avodas Hayom, and proceed to the Avodas Hayom, all the other kabbanis, which are the Ikar HaKapora, as Rashi says, things which are unique to Yom Kippur. Don't overload him with too many goats, with too many kvasim in the morning. You might be overwhelmed and be sapped of energy, and will be no longer able to do the Avodas Hayom, which is mi'aki for the kapara. So don't overload him. Have him bring just 1 in the morning. Leave the rest for later. First do Avodas Hayom. At the end of the day, go back to the rest of the Musafim. Rabbi Shimon Savar, just the opposite. Kivan the Aschel of Shisha. Once he begins with the Musafim, do 6 of them. Why? Dilma Pasha. Because he might neglect. He might ignore the rest. He might never come back to it. He'll be too weak. He won't bother coming back to it. Maybe allow another kind to take care of the Musafim. According to some Rishonim, it's mutter. In any case, whatever it is, it won't be done properly. So he'll make sure that he does the Musafim before he gets going with the Avodas Hayom. You're asking, he might not have any koyach to do the Avodas Hayom. No concern there. The Lagabi Avodas Hayom, Zarisu. When it comes to performing this Avodas Hayom, which is a unique, once-a-year experience for which he trained for so long, Zarisu. Suddenly he'll got a new spurt of energy, a new wind. And he'll be okay, he'll be able to do it. Let's go over to Rashi, about 3-4 lines down. Dilma Pasha, let's first do all 6, and leave just 1 for later. Dilma Pasha, he might never get back to it when he's exhausted. So do as many as you could now. Regarding your concern that he might be overly weakened and not be able to do the Avodas Hayom, there's no concern there. The Lagabi Avodas Hayom, Zorisu. He'll be Zoris to do Avodas Hayom. Umachlev Koyach. He'll get a renewed spurt of energy. V'kulu musafin le'avid. Of course, says Rashi, you can't do all the musafin in the morning. The Teres Kahanim Kadim. Because we do want to reckon with that factor as well. The Karbanis in Sefer Vayikra are meant to come first to a certain extent. So on the one hand, we do musafin with the morning, Mavad Olis HaBoker. On the other hand, we want to leave some for later as well to be makayim the sequence of the parashas, which are indicative of such that you meant to do Avodas Hayom and only then follow with musaf. You want to sort of cover both bases. Do some musafin in the morning and leave some for later after Avodas Hayom. Seder HaKosav, Midrashim Mikrois, want to follow the Psukim and the Midrashim. Therefore, we strike a compromise. Some of the Musafim will accompany Talmud Shel Shachar to be Mekayim, the pasuk of Movad Olis HaBoker, and some leave for later. So that's the pshat in this new unique shita of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, who present Rabbi Kiva's shita in this manner. You take the Musafim and split them apart, some in the morning and some later. So, in summation, once again, we have Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Lezer holds that the Musafim are meant to follow the Avodas Hayom, the Para'oila, the Zayin Kvasim, Sarachitzan, which are listed in Parshas Pinchas, which is in Sefer Bamidbar, are meant to come at the end of the day, when he's going to be wearing Bidei Zav the 3rd time around. According to Rabbi Kiva, the pasuk says Mavad Olis HaBoker, which tells you that Musafim are meant to come together with the Talmud Shel Shachar. So the Para'oila, the Zayin Kvasim, come in the morning, and the Sarachitzan, only because we have a pasuk which says Milvad Chatas HaKippurim, which indicates to us that the Sarah Chitzon meant to follow the Sarah Pnimi, the Chatas HaKippurim. That's left for later, when he's going to be wearing the big day Zav the second time around. That's the way the Brisa, the Tosefta, presents a Rabbi Shita. Then we have some alternate versions of Rabbi Kiva. We have Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, who maintain we have to address Rabbi Lezer's argument as well. Look, the Musafin are listed way later in Sefer Bamidbar, which is indicative of their late placement. They're meant to be placed later on the day. Therefore, let's do some in the morning, some at night. According to Rabbi Yehuda, 1 keves in the morning, don't overload him, and the rest after Avodas Hayom. Because as Rabbi Shimon, it's the opposite. Do all 6 in the morning to make sure that he gets to them. Then Avodas Hayom, for which he'll get renewed energy and renewed excitement. He'll do it successfully, don't worry. After which, he'll finish off the 7th of those kvas. Continues the Gemara, Dekuli Amamias. It's pretty clear that according to all shitas mentioned here, Chad Ayelu. See, there's a shayla regarding the ayil of Yom Kippur. The Kohen Gadol himself had a personal ayil, Eloi, which he paid for. It was his personal ayil. Then there was the ayil ha'am, the public ayil, the public carbon ayil, which was part of the chayvus hayom of Yom Kippur. Now that ayil is mentioned twice in the Torah, once in Sefer Vayikra, and once over in Sefer Bamidbar. Is it the same animal? Or is it 2 karbonis? Do we say it's one and the same, or perhaps one is chayvus hayom, unique for Yom Kippur, and one is a musaf, goes on to the musafin list, being that it's mentioned in Parshas Pinchas again. It seems clearly from our discussion, we only discussed 1 ayil, not 2. The kuli alma mias chad aylu. Everybody seems to agree that it's only 1 ayil, even though it's mentioned twice in the Torah. Kiman kirebi. In accordance with whose shita is this? It's Rabbi Shita, the Sandi. Rabbi Aymer ayil echad amar kan. The same ayil mentioned here in Sefer Vayikra, hu amar b'chomesh hapkudim. That's the same one mentioned again in Sefer Bamidbar. It's one of the same animal. Rabbi Shimon Aymer, no, shnei eil mein. There are actually 2 separate karbonis. Echad amar kan. One mentioned here in Sefer Vayikra, that's chayvas hayom. That's exclusive for Yom Kippur, part of the Yom Kippur procedure. The other one mentioned later on in Sefer Midbar, it's a musaf carbon. So it's really 2 different carbons. My time at the Rebbe. What's the pshat in the Rebbe? That's the same one. Tichsev echad. The pasuk says ayil echad. So although it's mentioned twice, the fact that the Torah refers to it as ayil echad indicates that it's only 1. Rabbi Lezer Shimon holds that there were 2. My echad. Why does the pasuk refer to it as echad? Nothing to do with how many. The Torah is referring to the quality of the animal. Miyuchad shebe'edra. It's meant to be the best of his herd. When you bring a carbon, you bring the best. V'Rebbi nafkele mimivchan darecha. Rabbi learns that halacha from the other pasuk. He meant to bring mivchan darecha, the best for fulfillment of your neder. Rabbi Lezer Shimon, he needs 2 psukim to tell you, bring the best. Chad b'choiva, v'chad b'nedava, v'tzrichi. The pasuk mivchan darecha is to teach you that you meant to bring the best when it's a donation. Mivchan darecha. The pasuk by ayil, which uses the term echa, is to tell you want to be makayim your chiyuv with the best as well. V'tzrichi, and they're really both needed. Pasuk needs to indicate this concept by Nedava and by Chayva as well. Why? Let's go down to Rashi, 3 lines from the bottom. Utzrichi. Sheyesh das noite. There will be room to think, Loima Nedava mavcheres. One can think, a donation, that has to be done generously. But a Chayva, as long as you yoytze, whatever you bring is okay. So that's why the Pasuk has to tell you, Nedava as well needs to be the best. Sorry, that chayva needs to be the best. On the other hand, you can say chayva teim of cheres. Of course, an obligatory carbon that has to be the best. Kadesh yeyetze de chayva seyafa, that he's really makayim as chayv. That's pashut. But a dava, whatever he gives, He's being generous in any case. So why does it have to be the best? That's why we need another pasuk to tell you that even by Nadava, it's meant to be Mivchan Adarecha, according to Rabbi Shimon, in a pasuk by Chayv, and by Nadava to teach the same halach. Now the Mefarshim ask an obvious kasha here. You see, according to Rabbi Shimon, we're speaking about two different karbanis. One is Chayvas Hayoim, mentioned in Sefer Vayikra. Another ayil is a Musaf, mentioned in Sefer Midbar. We understand why the repetition. It's not a repetition, it's two different karbanis. According to Rabbi, it's one carbon. Why the repetition? Why mention it twice? So the Brisker Rav explains, if it would only have been mentioned by Musafin, then it wouldn't be considered Chayvas Hayoim, just be considered a standard Karam Musaf. Musaf is brought throughout the year. All Yom Tovim have Musaf, and this happens to be Yom Kippur's Musaf. So it doesn't really acquire that status of a Seder Yom Kippur. In which case, the order of that Karam wouldn't be Mi'akiv. Bring it out of order wouldn't be Mi'akiv. It's only a Musaf. That's why the Torah has to repeat it in Parshas Vayikra. Amongst the Karbanos of Seder Ayom, this is Yom Kippur Karban as well. This is part of today's schedule. In which case, it has to be brought as dictated, in its proper order, in its proper sequence. If it's out of order, it's possible. So that's the additional element that comes about because the Torah lists it together with the Chayvas Hayom. Oh, so why mention it with the Musafin? Just mention it here. What's the point of mentioning it again later by the Musafin? Is there anything that gets added if it's called Musaf? So the Farshim say, yeah, because suppose there's no Kohen Gadol here. You can't bring the Chayvas Hayom, which are meant to be brought by a Kohen Gadol, but Musafin can be brought by any Kohen. So suppose there's no Kohen Gadol here. Should we bring the Ayla Am? Answer is yes. Because it really has two. It has a double identity. It's considered a Chayvas Hayom, which needs a Kohen Gadol, but it's also considered, it's listed amongst the Musafin, in which case even when there's no Kohen Gadol, the Kohen Hedyot will go ahead and bring the Ayla Am. So that's the pshat why, according to Rebbe, it's mentioned here and there, in order to indicate that it has both aspects to it, Chayvas Hayom and a Musaf. Okay, time for brief Chazor of today's daf. So Kohen Gadol, when he was finished the Kriyas HaTorah of Parshas Achri Mois and Parshas Emor, he didn't want to keep the crowd waiting. He would close up the Sefer Torah, make that announcement. There's more in here than I said. I don't want to keep you waiting, and he would read the rest by heart. We don't want to take out a new Sefer Torah for one of two reasons: either because it might create a bad impression. Perhaps people think the first Sefer Torah turned out to be puzzle, or we don't want to introduce a new chiv of bracha she'en tzrich. He concluded the Bichas HaTorah, the Kriyas HaTorah with 8 brachas. Everybody came along with their Sefer Torah to show Zeh Kelev Anveyu. And we proceeded with the Karbanis, 15 in all, brought throughout Yom Kippur. We know that he would switch in and out of Begadim 5 times, and attend to various Karbanis throughout the day. The Shah is regarding the Musafin. Rav Machlekes, Rav Lezer says, follow the Parshis. The Karbanis listed in Sefer Vayikra come first. Eloi, Elaam, Emor Echatos. That's to be brought when he's wearing the big day Zav, in the middle of the day. Only later on, at the end of the day, when he puts on the big day Zav, the third time around, for the Tamid Sheben Arbaim, that's when we'll take care of the Musafin, Para Oilo, Zayin Kvasim, Sarah Chitzayin, which are listed in Sefer Bamidbar. Kiva, look, the pasuk says, Mavad Oilos HaBoiker. Musafin are meant to follow the Oilos HaBoiker, the Tamid Shel Shachar. It's one package. Therefore, he says, do the Musafin in the morning, Para Oilo Zayin Kvasim, except for the Sarah Chitzayin, where the pasuk says, Mavad Chatas HaKippurim, it's meant to come after the Chatas of Yom Kippur, the Sarah Lashem, the Sarah Pnimi, the Sarah Lazazal's counterpart, which is only tended to when he's going to be wearing the big day Lavan. So he has to wait for that to happen, and only afterwards, when he switches to big day Zav, can he address the Sarah Chitza. Now we have another 2 variations within Rabbi Kiva Shita. We have Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon who maintain, look, let's not ignore Rabbi Lezer's argument entirely. The fact is, the Seder HaPsukim, Seder HaParshas do indicate that Musafin are meant to come later. So do it both ways. A little in the morning, a little later. So we split the kvasim into two parts. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's 1 in the morning. Don't overload him, for he might not have any energy left for the avodas hayom, which is crucial. So do only 1 in the morning and 6 with the tamach ben abayim. According to Rabbi Shimon, don't worry about the avodas hayom. He'll get through it just no problem, and give him the 6 in the morning to make sure that he does it. And only later will he conclude the 7th kevis. Conclude with the machlekes regarding Ayla Am, which is mentioned twice in the Torah, once in Vayikra, once in Bamidbar. According to Rebbe, it's 1 in the same carbon. According to Rabbi Shimon, there were 2 Elam, 1 for Chayvas Hayoim, and an additional 1 for the Musaf. Kol Tivti.